So I thought I'd make a little video about how I'm going to be brewing coffee and what kind of coffee I'm going to be drinking this Christmas. And it might surprise many of you to find out that coffee at home for us is a very low-key affair. Most days we don't drink coffee at home, Saturday, Sunday being the exception. We're at home at the weekends. And actually, we don't drink huge amounts of coffee at home, and we keep the brewing of it so basic and so simple. We have a simple filter brewing machine that allows us to very quickly in the morning chuck some freshly ground coffee in and brew a nice batch, and that will keep us going in the morning. Given the whole plethora of brewing kit available to us here at our roastery, none of it actually makes its way to our house. We want coffee at home to be simple, fast, efficient, easy. However, at Christmas, we go to town a little bit. And on Christmas Day, I crack out a little piece of brewing kit that means a lot to me. This is more than a brewing kit for me. It has a significance to how my whole business started all those years ago. And it's the coffee siphon. And today is not really about a brewing guide about the siphon. It's just about sharing my experience and why I want to use it and why I use it and crack it out on those special days. It's a bit fussy. I'm going to admit it now. It's a bit of a fussy way to make coffee, but I like it. And as I said before, it has meaning. Now I need to get the water in this bottom bowl here heated and warming up. So I'm going to get that going before I talk a little bit about why I choose the siphon and why it comes out on those special occasions. Now I've preheated the water because it saves time. Now I'm not weighing, I'm just going to go off the guide on the side of the bowl here, just up to the 2-cup level. There'll be some people out there cringing that I'm not weighing the water in, but I tend to find this method works really well for me. I've weighed the coffee, most definitely. And I'm going to get a bit of heat under here, and I'm just going to start gently warming this coffee, or this water, sorry, in here. And while I do that, I'm going to assemble the top bit, and the siphon works using a cloth filter on a chain here, and we're going to use air pressure to force, and the pressure of water vapor, to force the water out this bottom bowl into this top chamber through this cloth filter. And then we're going to use something as simple as gravity to reverse the process and filter the coffee. Now I just need to gently center this on this vessel, and this vessel will sit in here, and it'll warm gently in here. And once it's nearly up to temperature, I'm going to assemble the whole thing. 12 years ago, this was a gift to me from a family that I worked for at the time in a coffee shop, and who were really linked strongly with the coffee industry. And it kind of opened up my coffee world completely. I'd never come across this before. I was into coffee. I was espresso machines. I was working as a barista. I'd left education, found a job in coffee, and I was loving that whole experience. But my probably understanding of the coffee world was quite small. It didn't really go beyond espresso and that side of stuff. And suddenly I was gifted this. And obviously I had to find out how to brew it, how to use it. And it's a fascinating piece of kit. And before I knew it, I was exploring other brewing methods, and it was almost like a snowball. It just kept rolling and growing and growing. And 12 years later, I have my own successful coffee roasting business. That's probably the reason this comes out at Christmas. It doesn't get used otherwise. A little bit of me is afraid of breaking it, I'll be honest. I don't like to carry it around that much. It has pride of place at work, but every now and again, it comes out and it gets used. So what we do, by closing the system, we've now got a rubber bung in the mid part here, and we get a buildup of pressure in this bottom bowl. It's going to force the water up into the top bowl, which is going to be the brewing chamber that we're going to use. And what we need to do is kind of just manage the heat a little bit so it stays up there but doesn't get too hot. And what will happen at the bottom is there's a gap between the bottom of the bowl and this pipe system here, which means when that gap happens, the last of the water is going to sit in this bowl, it's going to stay in this bowl, but it's going to hold the pressure, so you're going to have all your water up here sitting nicely. So I'll just drop the temperature a little bit so we don't have too much heat coming through into the top. Let me get my coffee, and I'm going to start a timer as well. I'm going to time my brew for 2 minutes. Drop my coffee in. Now I don't want to stir it, but I need to wet the ground. So what I want to do is keep agitating this bed of coffee at the top here, because I want everything nicely saturated. And what will happen is you will get what we call a bloom or a raft of coffee forming at the top. So for the first 30, 40 seconds or so, I want to break this. I tend to find that if you let this bloom form, you get a buildup of heat in the coffee below. We don't want that to happen. So by getting rid of the bloom, we're releasing the heat out of the system. And we just need to do that and continue doing that for about 30 or 40 seconds. And I'll continually keep an eye on the top of the coffee to make sure it's not forming again. And then we'll and I'm dabbing the surface here. I'm not stirring, I'm dabbing the surface in different places to keep that crust breaking. When I first had this, it came with a little oil burner down the bottom, if you like, that with a wick that made life really difficult to control this bit here. But I've since bought a little gas burner, which makes a big, big difference to the whole thing. Now, I tend to find that it takes a bit of practice to get this right. A couple of times you'll go through this whole process, try to control it, and go too far. You'll drop the heat too far at the bottom, and you'll see what happens in a minute. The whole thing will fail on you. But I tend to find that after a few goes, you kind of get a knack to it. You'll see people suggest that you can put the lid on, but I tend not to use the lid, again, because of that buildup of heat in the top. So in about 1 minute, 50 seconds. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kill the heat completely at the bottom. And as the heat stops, the pressure drops, the coffee will now move down into the bottom chamber. And as it starts to do so, I'm just going to stir my siphon. And that is it. The coffee's now dropping through the cloth filter into this bottom bowl. And hey presto, bit of a bubble at the end as the air passes in, and there is our batch of coffee brewed. The reason for stirring is you tend to get, you want an even drawdown, if you like. You want the coffee to go through evenly, and because of friction on the side of the bowl, if I don't stir, I'll tend to get too much of it going down the middle. By stirring, you get a much more even drawdown, and you'll get a nice domed finish in this top bowl. And there is the coffee ready. And the beauty of this little system is I can take the top out, and I can use the lid as a stand, and then the bottom becomes a pourer. Now I tend to like to drink coffees that aren't overly fruity. I don't like something that's massively fruity when I'm chilling out at home. This is Chichupac from Guatemala. It's just kind of right down the middle of the road. There's enough fruit and juiciness in the cup that I enjoy it without it being overly bright, overly sharp. It's just going to allow me to chill out on Christmas morning, relax, and cross fingers, open a couple of presents. I would really love to know how you're going to be brewing your coffee this Christmas. It's not going to be an easy Christmas for many, many people. I hope it works out for you. I hope you get the best Christmas you possibly can in the circumstances. But please feel free to let me know. What are you brewing? How are you brewing it? How do you enjoy your coffee at home? It's been fantastic this year. All the subscribers, all the likes, all the watching my videos has been amazing. Thank you so much. I didn't expect people to get involved so much. I really, really appreciate it. I wish you all a happy New Year. I hope it's so much better in 2021, and thanks so much for watching.